Good evening. Here is top news newsletter, starting with the headlines. The Syrian army pushes ahead with the military operations. Parliament rejects Yemen's president resignation. US-Iraq preparing for assault to recapture Mosul. Units of the army and armed forces eliminated many terrorists and destroyed their ammo and weapons in Nab al-Sakhr, al-Hamidiyya and al-Batni towns in al-Qunaitra countryside. A unit of the army and armed forces killed many terrorist organizations members, injured others, and razed the dead belonging to them in Hasno village in Damascus countryside. Army and armed forces units repelled a terrorist attack in Namir town, killing many of terrorists, injuring others, and destroying their weapons in the countryside. Army units carried out a special operation in Gleim village and Busra al-Sham, causing the death of many terrorists, injuring others, and destroying a car they were using for movement. Units of the army and armed forces eliminated terrorists in Rahum, Anq al-Hawa, and Rajm al-Qasr villages in Homs countryside. A unit of the army killed and injured members of terrorist group during their attempts to infiltrate in Tel Kalakh area on the Syrian-Lebanese border. In Jisr al-Shughur area, a unit of army and armed forces targeted a terrorist, killing all terrorists inside it and destroyed 3 vehicles equipped with heavy machine guns. A continuation of the Syrian news, the Deputy Commander-in-Chief of the Army and Armed Forces, Defense Minister Fadil Jasem al-Freij, affirmed that the Syrian army is more resolved than ever to combat terrorism and eliminate terrorists. The defense minister's comments came during a field visit he paid accompanied by a number of general command officers to a number of military units and the checkpoints in the southern region, inspecting the readiness of the forces, their circumstances, and the measures taken to defend civilian area and confront terrorist organizations. Al-Freij conveyed the greeting of President Bashar al-Assad to the Syrian army's personnel who are fighting to restore stability and security. The minister emphasized that Syria's victory over the aggression will come due to the huge sacrifice of the army and armed forces. Yemeni President Abdrabbo Mansour Hadi has resigned after Ansarullah revolutionaries seized the presidential palace in the capital of Sana'a. President Hadi submitted his resignation to the Yemeni parliament shortly after the cabinet of Prime Minister Khaled Baha stepped down to avoid being dragged into what he called an unconstructive political maze that is not based on law or order. The Yemeni parliament has rejected Hadi's resignation, calling for an emergency session. The Yemeni government and Ansarullah fighters on Al-Houthi movement agreed on a ceasefire deal to stop clash in the country. The impoverished Arab country is currently grappling with a severe political crisis between the central government and Ansarullah fighters. In last September, Ansarullah fighters and the Yemeni government inked the UN-backed ceasefire deal that called for the withdrawal of the revolutionaries from the capital once a neutral prime minister was picked. The deal has failed to deliver any practical results so far. In Iraqi view, the United States and Iraq have started preparing for an offensive by summer to recapture the Iraqi city of Mosul, which was taken by the so-called ISIS militants last June. Preparation including training military units for the planned assault and cutting supply lines to the so-called ISIS fighters, General Lloyd Austin, head of the U.S. military's Central Command, said. Later, U.S. declared spring is the best time to assault Mosul and showed disagreement with Iraqi army to Mosul operation before spring. It was the focus of government efforts to defeat the so-called ISIS because of the city's size and symbolic status. The US-led forces have been conducting airstrikes against the so-called ISIS targets in Iraq and Syria, including 16 since Wednesday that were centered on Mosul. The journal quoted Austin as saying that Iraqi forces must be ready before the offensive could begin. He added that he hadn't yet determined whether to recommend that US ground troops accompanied local units pushing into Mosul. US intelligence estimates that the so-called ISIS has a total force of between 9,000 and 18,000 fighters. The Iraqi government recently asked for more weapons to help its military that partially collapsed in early stages of the fight against the ISIS. Saudi Arabia's King Abdullah bin Abdulaziz's death has set the stage for a transition of power at a crucial moment as the key US ally in the Middle East struggles with the falling oil prices and rising terrorist violence. The monarch, believed to be 1990, was succeeded by his brother, Crown Prince Salman, that put the region's most important power and America's closest Arab ally in the hands of a 79-year-old, who is reportedly in poor health and suffering from dementia. Salman's rise to the throne postponed the question of when the Saudi monarchy will turn to the next generation of princes to parent the country of 29 million people at the crucial moment in the region, mired in the crisis. Saudi Arabia is a key member of the US-led coalition against the so-called ISIS extremist group and a major ally of the government that just fell in neighboring Yemen. Henderson said there could be far more maneuvering than the royal family will admit. He said some would privately argue that Salman is not of sound enough mind to run the country, and the other factions would push their own favorites, even if the feuds are contained behind palace doors, so that squabble could paralyze decision-making in the kingdom at the critical time. Henderson added that the Saudi border is a part of Iraq where the so-called ISIS is influential, and its southern neighbor Yemen is in the midst of a power struggle that Saudis believe will strengthen Iran, its regional rival. That's all for today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Inas Ahmed. Good night.